Hi, I'm Jennifer Granholm, and my point is that the Republican candidates who constantly say that trickle-down economics will get our economy moving again, that cutting corporate taxes or cutting the capital gains tax is going to cause businesses to come to the United States, it drives me crazy. We're in a global economy. When you cut those taxes, the investors are going to invest where they can have their returns maximized. And where is that in the global economy? But it's usually in a developing country. Over the past decade, we in this country, through multinational corporations who are based in the United States, we have lost 2.5 million jobs. Now, those companies are hiring people. They've hired about 3 million people, but they just haven't hired them in the United States. So my point is that tax policy in the United States has to be tied into job creation here. Otherwise, all you're doing is cutting taxes, giving more money to entities who may very well invest it and hire people somewhere else.
All right, Michael, interesting point by the governor. Go.
Well, first of all, the former governor of Michigan, much better looking than Jerry Brown. I'm going to say that right here.
All right, okay.
Way to go out on a limb.
It's out there now. It's out.
Than my governor. I think she makes an excellent point when you tie job creation to taxation, although to tax policy. The problem with that, of course, is mandating. You cannot mandate once you cut taxes or raise taxes what companies do with jobs. What you can mandate is you can say you're not going to get these tax breaks if you relocate workers or if you lay off here and hire elsewhere, and that's what you can do.
Well, let me challenge that because there's a bill now for tax holiday, and it's actually unfortunately bipartisan. It's John McCain and Kay Hagan from North Carolina, who's a Democrat, of course, saying, hey, if you bring back money from abroad, that'll be taxed at around 8%. I'm sorry, at around, yeah, that's right, 8%. And then, but if you create any jobs with it, then I will tax it at 5%, right? So obviously they can do it. And it's also a funny admission, because of course the corporate tax rate is supposed to be 35%, that we think most of you will not create a damn job with it.
Well, that's the problem with that, is that it doesn't say anything about creating jobs. It's just a way of seeing government revenue generated from the jobs that are going elsewhere. Right. And that is not, going to help at all the existing economy in this country.
So what do you think, Dilip? Can we tie the taxation to the jobs?
I don't think it'll ever be constitutional to say you have to hire X and Y and Z and then you'll qualify and then we may lower taxes that way. I don't think that'll ever stand muster. I think the thing that the governor really mentioned that's right is that what we're doing when we cut taxes in this altruistic hope they're going to start hiring, in our most decimated communities, is that somehow they're suddenly going to do something that's not in their best interest. They never do that. What we're basically doing when we cut taxes and pray they'll hire here is subsidizing outsourcing. And I think tax policy has to be tax policy for expenditures in state and in federal government resources and expenditures. It can't be this like jiggering the tax code to do every little thing, because then what happens when you do the first tax cut? The next corporation says, you know what, who else is going to leave the state? We'll leave the state if you don't give us a tax cut. And all you do is erode the entire base, which subscribes to this theory that taxes somehow are inherently evil, which they aren't. They actually inherently pay for everything we take for granted all day, and all they do is get a bad rap, of course, because no one likes to pay them personally. But if we keep doing this, we undermine everything we try to pay for, which we actually need.
Right, and Jimmy, isn't the problem overall that the whole idea is wrong, that if we lower taxes, we're going to somehow create jobs? I mean, look at Clinton era, 23 million jobs created when we increased taxes, right? Well, and then look at what happened over the last 10 years when we cut taxes. Disaster.
Well, 2 points. When people say, well, if you raise taxes, it'll hurt investment. Well, so we didn't have any investment in this country in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s when the marginal tax rates were up between 50 and 90%. Of course we did. So that's bogus right there. I mean, you can blow that argument out of the water right there. The other point about, they wanted to lower the tax rate for repatriated money because that's going to help create jobs here if we bring that money back here. Actually, it doesn't. It does the opposite. When you lower the tax rates on repatriated money, what that says is I can take this money, reinvest it overseas, make more money, and then bring it back for no tax. So that means is they're going to take their money and reinvest it in other countries and not here. That's why lowering the patriotizing those taxes is a bad idea.
It's totally misincentivizing the companies in corporate America, and that is a huge mistake.
And also, they're in business to be in business to make a product, to sell something, be in certain service. They're not there to maximize policy codes and find ways of jiggering the system so they can get an extra 2%, 3% here, because that's all they do. They seek out profit at the lowest level, always, right? So we can't make our tax code riddled with holes to pray they're not going to leave us.
Right.
It's just not realistic.
And you look, first of all, unfortunately, we have done that, as we all know, right? And look at what companies like GE have done. I mean, they spend so much money in their accounting department, and it pays off. They get billions of dollars back in
They are a
taxes.
perfect example of why this is a flawed philosophy.
Right, and I thought, Jimmy, look, your point was excellent, because in 2004 we did another tax holiday. We let them
Yes.
repatriate the money, and two things happened. One, they cut jobs. Okay, top 10 guys, companies that got money back, and they got billions back, right, from lower taxes, actually cut tens of thousands of jobs. They didn't do what they said they were going to do at all. And at the time, they said, "Oh, we promise we're going to bring jobs in," but they never mandated it, so it didn't happen at all. And then second of all, immediately they took all the rest of their money and moved it offshore, waiting for the new tax holiday that's now about to come.
It's exactly what's happening. And it's it's another canard, just like they say, corporations need to feel confidence. They're sitting on $2 trillion, but they don't have any confidence, which is why they're not hiring. Hey, if $2 trillion doesn't give you confidence, maybe you should try dance lessons.
And another point that I think people aren't making enough here is that the Republicans, the people who want to lower the tax rates constantly and tie job creation to tax policy, are only talking, whenever they talk, they're talking about manufacturing jobs. Well, those jobs are never going to come back. That's not the approach to go into job policy with, that those jobs are never going to come back.
And also,
I also
it
say-
defies fact. They have come back. Manufacturing has led whatever meager recovery we have right now, which is showing better signs as we go along. Manufacturing has actually led that statistically.
Right, and then I love that they say both things at the same time. Oh, manufacturing jobs are never going to come back. So give me huge tax cuts so that I can recreate manufacturing jobs.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make any kind of sense, right?
That's exactly
And look, the final point on this is that no matter what you believe on whether it could be tied to jobs or not, those tax incentives, one thing's for sure, these tax cuts over the last 10 years have not created jobs. In fact, we've lost about 1 million jobs. So that idea that more tax cuts equals more jobs is just simply not true.